Hey there. I am Jenna from Spiritually Savage Mindset Strategy Coaching. I am a psychic medium, channeler, card reader, spiritual guide, and mentor, and I want to thank you for joining me today. If you were here, then probably the title attracted you and you're trying to figure out what it means, and that's okay. This last couple of weeks, my guides were really silent, and then the last couple of days they've been giving me so many downloads, and I'm noticing that I'm having the same conversation with a lot of my clients. And so I want to talk to you guys today about character, because I feel like when I say that my character speaks for itself, you guys are confused by that. Because I think that we take words and associate them with the way that we would normally say them. So I'm going to try to explain this to you in the best way I can. So many people talk about free will, and they talk about how in this life we have free will and you can't override free will. So I've mentioned it in a couple of my videos that it is not your physical free will. It is your soul's free will. So I'm going to talk to you about your character in a way that you will understand free will. If you were an actor and you got offered an acting job, you sign a contract and you go to the studio and the set and you act out exactly what the script says. And if you don't, you have to do it over and over and over again until you get it right. And if you refuse the part that you chose, then you get fired and you are replaced. And you are no longer needed in the story. And then you either go on to another acting job, or you go back to re-education and learn how to follow directions. Our life here in this life is much like that. Your soul read the script. It knew exactly what was going to happen, and it chose your character. It tried out for this character, and it wanted this job. It signed the contract and agreed to play this part. And the other people in your story agreed to play their part too. Now here's the thing. I always like to liken it to Adam Sandler, because if you know anything about Adam Sandler movies, you know that he likes to act with his friends. He brings a lot of the same people to his movies, but they always play a different character. And that's exactly what your life is like. There will be other people who have come from other lives to act with you in this life, and they will be different people to you. In your last life, they might have been your child or your spouse or your parent or a friend. And in this life, they might be somebody totally different. They might just be a walkthrough and be of no significance whatsoever. So the thing is this: you never expect somebody to be the same person in each movie. If you saw Adam Sandler in one movie, you wouldn't expect him to be the same character in the next movie he was in, because this is a new movie. And so sometimes we try to tie these movies together with like, but they were in my past life, but they were this, but they were that. Great. They're in your circle. They're in your soul family. They're in your soul tribe. And they've contracted to be with you in multiple lives. But they're playing different parts now. If you are trying to connect something from a previous life to this life and say, I'm working out this, I'm working out that, you don't need to concern yourself with exactly what it is. In a movie, if there is a backstory or something that crosses over that needs to be dealt with, there's always a flashback. There's always information that shows up that shows you how it all connects. And this is why it's really important to learn to listen to your soul and to trust yourself and the information that the universe sends you. When it sends it to you, you learn to accept it, integrate it, and act on it. Because if the universe needs you to deal with something or grow from something, it will link it. You will get the information when and how you get it. Normally, you don't have to seek it. It comes to you when it's time. You focus on what your soul tells you to do. The thing is this, you need to learn to be in love with your character and not in love with what you believe your storyline is. See, when we come down here, we get one script page a day. What happens is your soul read the entire script. It knows the plan. It knows everything. But when you come down here into your human form, it's almost like we have amnesia. And the whole point of being in this human form is to learn to trust your soul and not your programming. People can call it ego, whatever they want. It's programming. It's what you came down here with. It's the programming that gets instilled in you from your parents, from your own expectations, from your plan, from people pleasing, from your trauma. All of that societal bullshit is your programming. It's your ego. And it's the thing that says, here, I'm going to give you security. This is the entire script. This is how your life is going to go. This is how your life should go. You're going to go to school. You're going to learn these things. You're going to get a job. You're going to work 30 years only to retire and die. You're going to have 2.5 kids and live in this neighborhood with a picket fence and a dog. This is all the programming. That is the safety. That is the script. That's your story. And your soul is trying to tell you the way the actual story is supposed to go. But here's the problem is, the story doesn't feel safe because you only get one script page a day. And if you refuse to read the script and do the script and follow the instructions, you don't get the next page's script. You get to keep this script until you learn how to do it properly. This is why people end up in the same cycle. They refuse to make the changes. They refuse to do the thing that the script says. The script says in order to be happy, you need to make these changes. You need to heal from this. You need to face this. And we refuse to read it, and we ad-lib. And we add in our own stuff, or we read yesterday's script so that we can stay where we are. But the problem is we can't get past that. We just stay in the same loop. And here's the thing. Now you've become immersed in the story and not the character. And if you're immersed in the story and say, I want this story to stay the same and I refuse to grow and change, then the story becomes stagnant. You know why? Because you're not unfolding. There's no character development. You're not growing as a character. And so your character becomes a weak character and unnecessary. And then you cling to the other characters in your story so that they can make you relevant. And this is where codependency comes in. This is where enabling comes in. You feel like they're more important. Their character is more important than yours. So you push your character aside and you say, being involved in the story is more important. Staying where I am, this is more important because I can't survive on my own. They'll cancel me. But what's happening is you're not growing as a character. There's no character development. You clinging to them is what's causing you to be obsolete. It's what's causing your character not to be popular anymore. It's what's causing your character not to be interesting anymore. It's not what's causing no growth and no change. And your story gets dry and stale and boring. And you're just canceled. Because nobody cares anymore. They hear the same story, the same song from you all the time. There's no growth. There's no change. And now you're clinging to other people and stagnating their story. You need to be in love with the character. Have you ever watched a show and just been so in love with a character? I love the show The Originals. I love it. I love Klaus Michelson. I love him. I don't care what he does in the show. I love the character that he is. It wouldn't matter what storyline they put him in. If they made him Klaus Michelson, I would watch it. You know why? Because I'm so immersed in the character, and I'm so immersed in the consistency of who he is, and watching him unfold and watching him grow and watching him change. And I was in love with the storyline that they had when he was with Callie, and how she opened him up and changed him and grew him and showed him parts of himself that he didn't know. But when she died, I didn't go, well, fuck this. I was in love with the storyline. I went, Klaus has so much more now he can grow from. Let's see where he's going to go with this. Now that this storyline is gone, where does this take him? You have to be in love with your character. You have to adhere to your character and understand that your character has many storylines it will go through. You also have to understand that you have to let go of one story and move through fluidly, and not be connected to any one story, because it could just be a connector. You ever had those time periods in your life where you felt like nothing was happening and everything was stagnant? It's not that. It's a building episode. You know those episodes where you feel like nothing happens and it's just information, and then the next episode you go, this is how it all connects. It's a bridge episode. That's all it is. It's connecting everything together. You need to take those times of boring and stagnancy and nothing is happening and look for the signs to where this is going. Look for the time to integrate the lessons that you've learned. Look for the development that your character is supposed to be making in this time. This is not a time to wallow. This is not a time to be stagnant. This is not a time to second guess. This is just a time to rest and rejuvenate and integrate and learn the lessons you're supposed to be learning. We get so angry in life when adversity and things that make us uncomfortable show up. But have you ever seen a show without a villain? Have you ever seen a show without adversity? No, because it would be boring as fuck. Who would watch that? Nobody. You know why? Because we watch it for the things that they overcome. We live for that. We go, oh my God, I wonder what's going to happen this week. If things stopped popping up and they had nothing to overcome, you'd be bored. And it's like that in life, because the stagnancy sets in, the boringness sets in. There's nothing to learn. There's nothing to overcome. There's nothing to stretch us. There's nothing to push through. We need to stop looking at our villains and our discomfort as undesirables and understand that they are necessary for our character development. You need to start being in love with your character. If you don't know who your character is, you need to start investing in that. Who is your character? Who are they? Because when an actor gets the script, even one-page script to read, to audition for a character, it goes, okay, and it reads that little paragraph about who that character is, and they develop this entire persona around this character. And you have to be consistent. Some of these actors live in this character while they're in this movie. Jim Carrey is one of the really well-known ones that does this. Heath Ledger did it too. You live in that character and you never break from that character while you're doing this job. And that's the way your character should be in this life. You should be so consistent and so you that your character speaks for itself. If you have a favorite show, you have a favorite character. And in that show, you never can't figure out what your character is going to do. You know why? Because you're in love with this character. You go, I know exactly what he's going to do. You know why? Because the consistency of who that character is. That needs to be you. The people around you, the people close to you need to know deep down who you are and what you're going to do. If they don't, you're the villain. You hear me? If your character chameleons to fit the circumstances, lies, and you generally never know what they're going to do or what they're going to say or who they're going to be, then you're the villain in your own life. Don't look for outside forces that are making your life tumultuous. Look in the mirror. because you're the villain in your life. You're making your life tumultuous. You're causing this adversity, and you're blaming other people, but you're your own villain. There is nobody else. If you can't look in the mirror and say, I know exactly what I'm going to do today, and I know exactly if this arises, how I'm going to react. I know if this were to happen, I know how I will react, because anything can happen in life. Death happens every day. Illness happens every day. Accidents happen every day. People are removed from your life every day. Relationships end every day. Relationships begin every day. You meet new people, old people pass out of the story. And you know what? People's character stays the same if they are set in their character and know who their character is. But if you're fluctuating and you're floating, then you are attached to the story. And the story keeps you safe until it doesn't. If you're clinging to your story, it's time to get to know you. It's time to learn some character development. It's time to let go of the story and let the universe take you where it needs to take you for your character to grow and change and be somebody else. It's time for you to step into the hero mode. Because if you've ever watched shows like The Walking Dead or anything like that, nobody knew that they were going to be a hero. The world ended that day. Zombies showed up. Nobody knew what the fuck was happening. They weren't training for this. They did not have bug out bags and everybody just knew the world was going to go to shit that day. But as time has passed, the heroes emerged. And sometimes the people you thought would end up with being heroes, they're gone now. You can't attach to another character in your story. You have to be the character that you love. You have to be the character that you're invested in. Because if you attach to other people's characters in your stories, then you don't want to let them go. Because you feel like they're necessary for your story. You need to understand that there's no other character necessary for your story but you. It's not about self-preservation. It's about character development. Okay? It's not about being selfish. It's about being invested in your character. The storylines change constantly. You know, on The Walking Dead, if you got invested in one character and now they're gone, you either pick another character or you leave the story. And that's exactly how it is in this life. You can't adhere to another character so strongly that once they're gone, you just opt out. This is life. You don't get that option. You have to invest in you so strong that if that person opts out of your life, either by death or choice or your choice or your actions, then you go, I'm on to a new storyline. Maybe this person will circle back around. Maybe they won't. But I'm here for character development and for learning the lessons, not for a stagnant storyline. If people are removed, it's because your storyline's getting stagnant. You ever see a breakup in a show? Storyline was getting boring. People were stopping watching. The writers had to adjust. So here's the thing. You have to trust the writer. You have to trust the universe. The universe is your writer. It gives you 1 page of the script per day. You trust it and you go with it, or you don't get to move forward. You get a job as an actor in a show, you don't trust the writer, you argue with the writer, then guess what? You get written out. It's the way it is. You wonder why people just drop out of society? They won't trust the writer. They wanted to write their own story, and they realized they couldn't. They couldn't implement what they were trying to do because it wasn't meant to be part of the story. Their soul had already contracted to another story. Then you leave the set. You go either to another life, get another job, or you go to be re-educated so you do better next go around. It's time to be in love with your character. Find out who your character is. And by the way, if you don't have a set character, if you just fluctuate and you are your own villain, it's time to choose a side. It's time to learn consistency. It's time to look and see who you are inside and choose that and start acting on it consistently. Because your storyline is getting stagnant. All the turmoil, all the breaking down, this relationship is going nowhere and I'm trying to keep everything the same. Nothing stays the same. Your storyline's getting stagnant, and at some point something or someone has to break. Immerse yourself in your character. Let the story unfold.